Good morning to you at this hour on the business desk. The business sector has added its voice in reaction to President Cyril Ramaphosa's cabinet reshuffle. That's as the effects of political activity are again expected to have an impact on local economic developments. However, the domestic market along with the rand are yet to show signs of directly reacting to these developments, particularly the appointment of the Minister of Electricity being Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, who is tasked with resolving the current energy crisis. Political economist Redge Nkosi speaks to us now to expand on this reaction. Thank you so much for your time, Reg. I think let's start with the South African economy being in sharp focus and weighed down by the energy crisis. What is to be expected from this new ministry that's been created?
Well, one hopes that we're going to have some relief from the new developments announced by the president yesterday. GDP is likely to fall in the coming few hours as we get the announcement from the Stats SA. That shows that electricity has a very, very big impact on the economy, no doubt. But as to whether the new minister will solve this problem, we're yet to see. And in my view, he may just do that. So markets should perhaps applaud that the new minister is there. But in the bigger scheme of things, his appointment means very little for this economy.
Interesting views there, and much more of that reaction is expected. But also another matter that's on the table is the appointment of the ANC Deputy President being Paul Mashatile, officially now later today to be sworn in as the country's Deputy President. What's to be said about that particular office being the head and lead of government business? Very different from the government business that we knew under President Cyril Ramaphosa. What is the anticipation this time around, especially with the centralization of power that the president has been criticized with?
The president has been centralizing power quite extensively in the recent past, and you can actually see that in the presidency there are quite a number of people there. So we do not know what exactly the new deputy president is going to be charged with. But if we go back, we see that Deputy President Mabuza wasn't very active at all. Perhaps unlike Cyril himself as a deputy president then, he was fairly active. Unfortunately, that changed as soon as he walked into the office. And the expectation for us, I think, that Deputy President Mashatile is going to be very active. I'm afraid that would be highly, highly misplaced. I think quite to the contrary, he may as well be a very lame deputy president.
Pardon me for interjecting there, Reg, because I want to ask about another element to this discussion, being that public servants are currently fighting for better wages, and it would be at the government office that they knock on their door, especially because there was a reneging of that wage agreement. And now the issue around a bloated cabinet has reared its ugly head because the cabinet of the South African government has now expanded. Yes, the president indicated last night that this is an interim type of situation with the new portfolios that have been added, deputy ministers that are now doubling up in some departments. How would you react to that one?
The president was telling us that he was reacting to what he said during SONA. So his announcement, if you wish, of yesterday or last night has much to do with what he said during SONA. But look at what he had said during SONA. He said we're in extraordinary circumstances, requiring extraordinary measures. But my sense is, instead of changing the way the economy looks, what we have is a change of the political scene. A political scene that has almost no relevance to the economic scene that we want to see changed. So all these deputy ministers coming in, the deputy president coming in the meanwhile, there are wage negotiations about whether our civil servants should be given much more money and so on. The government is actually opposed to that. Yet on the one hand, they're bloating the same government. It's going to be very, very interesting how this is going to pan out. And my sense is that the deputy president is going to be hard, saying, well, there's no money, there's no money, there's no money. Yet the president is saying there's money to have an extra 2 or 3, deputy ministers and indeed another ministry. when in fact the actual Minister of Electricity should have been indeed the Minister of Public Enterprises, just giving focus to electricity. That we now have all this, to me, sounds quite weird. So there isn't much from the economic side, I'm afraid. We may just as well think that the president missed an opportunity to reorder the economy last night.
Yeah. Having said that, Reg, would you say there is a serious misalignment when it comes to politics and economics, particularly when it comes to appointing those who are meant to lead the South African economy in the right direction? Another missed opportunity that's been talked about is maybe those two ministers that would have been hired that are not necessarily members of parliament or politicians.
There is a great missed opportunity and misalignment. There's always been misalignment in terms of the ministers and the portfolios there. We have so many ministers here who are not suited for their jobs. For example, the Ministry of Economic Affairs, or rather DTI and Treasury. Well, obviously Treasury is a person who really understands economics, but frankly is not very much suited for that particular post because to a large extent, his understanding is that of the IMF and the World Bank. From there, we can draw nothing. So there is a lot of misalignment from political appointments, misalignment which I'm afraid is not going to help the economy in any way. So going forward, South Africa should be blessed, in my view, with high cost of living, high cost of doing business, because the posture that we have adopted as a country, indeed the president himself, is one that's going to raise a lot of cost to doing business and standards of living.
That's why we'll leave it with the economist at First Source Money, Redge Nkosi, talking to us about that reaction on the side of the business sector to the cabinet reshuffle.